Subtracting fractions from whole numbers and other fractions with like denominators. Not to worry, it's just math, so relax and enjoy the process. And it's okay to make little mistakes here and there, as long as you work for accuracy. Here are some tips for learning from a video. Chances are that if you're watching this video, you're either in a classroom, a lab working by yourself, or you're at home trying to figure out how to do this. First tip is to take notes. If you're learning straight off of a video for the first time, take some notes and treat it just like you would a regular classroom. Don't worry about getting everything all at once. You can always stop and start as you need to, or go back. Watch the examples, and then stop the video and try the examples on your own. Try them without looking at the example as it's been done on the board. If you need to, you can stop and start the video as you need it, if that's more comfortable to your style. I know that some kids can't move on to examples until they have every single note written down, and that's fine. Videos give you the freedom to stop and start as you need to. Step 5, tip 5, if you think you understand the concepts and you're in a classroom with other students who are still learning the concepts, feel free to work ahead when the examples appear. Then check your work once the video catches up to you. Make up your own problems. And the last thing, if something is not clear, ask an adult, or even an older sibling or a nearby student if you're allowed to. If the teacher's playing this video for you, there's a very good chance that he or she is available right then and there to help you with the finer or the subtle details that might be giving you a little bit of concern. Okay. The steps for subtracting a fraction from whole numbers or fractions. First step is to set up your problem. Second step is to check your denominators. The third step is to check your numerators. The fourth step is to regroup from whole number if needed. The fifth step is to bring down the denominator. The sixth step is to subtract the numerators. Your seventh step is subtracting the whole numbers. And the final step would be to simplify your answer if you need to. So here's an example problem. What we'll do right now is we'll put it in blue. And step 1 is to set up your problem. If you've seen my earlier videos, you know that I like to set up my problems vertically. Remember, this is 4/5, take away 2/5. So you'll want to put 2/5 down here. Check your denominators. Well, we have common denominators, so we don't need a least common denominator. We don't have to make any equivalent fractions. The third step is to check our numerators. The reason I threw that step in there is because sometimes this numerator will be greater than that one, and your teacher may not want you working with negatives yet. So you would then have to go on to step 4. Our numerators are pretty good. We can subtract with no problem. If you couldn't, then you'd want to go on to step 4 and regroup the whole number if needed. So now, once we reach step 5, we just begin the subtraction process and bring down the denominator. So we're going to just bring down the denominator, keeping it the same because it's common. And then we're going to subtract the numerators. 4 take away 2 is 2. And then step 7 would be to subtract the whole numbers, but these aren't mixed numbers, so we don't have to worry about any whole numbers. And then simplify our answer. Well, 2/5 is simplified because they're both prime numbers. And it's that simple. That's how you subtract fraction from a fraction. Let's try another example. Try this one on your own. Remember the steps. Step 1 is to set up your problem. Step 2 is to check your denominators. Step 3 is to check your numerators. Step 4 is to regroup from the whole number if needed. Step 5, bring down the denominator. subtract the numerators, subtract the whole numbers, and then simplify your final answer as needed. So why don't you go ahead and give this one a try. Alright, let's see how you did. Step 1, set up your problem. 7/9 take away 1/9. Step 2, check your denominators. They are common. Step 3, check your numerators. They're fine. We don't have to worry about any regrouping. Step 4, no regrouping is needed, so we can begin the subtraction. Step 5, bring down our denominator, which is 9. Step 6, subtract the numerators. 7 take away 1 is 6. Step 7, subtract the whole numbers. And again, we started out with just fractions, no mixed numbers, so we don't have to worry about subtracting whole numbers. And step 8 is simplify your final answer as needed. Well, in this case, we have two composite numbers, and they're both multiples of 3. So what we need to do is we need to list the factors of 6 and 9 and determine the greatest common factor of 6 and 9, which would be 3. So then we would divide 6 by 3, and we would end up with 2. We would also have to divide 9 by 3, the greatest common factor, and we would end up with 3. So the answer to 7/9 take away 1/9 is 2/3 once it's been simplified. All right. Here we go. We're going to try another problem, a little bit different. Here are the steps again to help you along if you need them. And here's our example problem. Now, when you look at this example problem, you're going to notice that now we have a whole number taking away a fraction. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by setting up our problem. And watch how I set it up. Now, your teacher may want you to set it up differently, but I've found that it's easier to set them up like this. I'm going to treat 2 as a mixed number without a fraction yet. 2 take away 3/5. You'll see why I set it up like this in a minute. So step 2 is to check our denominators. Well, we're not working with two fractions right now. We're working with a whole number and a fraction, which is nice because now if we need to create a fraction, we can just pick 5 as our denominator. Check our numerators. Don't have to do that yet either. Step 4, regroup the whole number if needed. Well, seeing how we have a fraction here and we don't have another fraction to subtract from, what we need to do is we need to borrow or regroup from the whole number. And what we'll do in order to do that is keep in mind that what you're looking at, if you take one of these, you would have one whole unit. If you want to turn 1, rewrite 1 as a fraction, the fraction will be divided into fifths because that's what our denominator is. So basically what we'll do is we will do this. We will take the 1 whole and divide it into fifths. And what we will have as our fraction would be 1 whole equals 5/5. So we can write our fraction as 5/5 and cross that out, and that becomes 1. Okay? Just like regular subtraction. So now we can bring down our denominator, which is 5. We can subtract our numerators, and everything looks good because 5 is greater than 3, which leaves us with 2. And then 1 take away 0 is 1. So our final answer for 2 take away 3/5 equals 1 2/5. And that's how we would solve that problem. Try this one on your own. 3 take away 7/8. Here are the steps to help you if you need them. And I'll let you work on that on your own. Okay, here we go. Step 1, set up your problem. And again, I'm going to use the offset vertical method. 3 take away 7/8. Step 2 is check our denominators. Well, we don't have to worry about our denominators right now because we can create a common denominator as needed and make 8 our denominator. Check our numerators. Don't have to worry about that yet. Regroup from the whole number if needed. Well, we don't have a fraction to take away from up here, so what we do need to do is regroup from that 3. Now remember, we're going to take 1 from that 3. We're going to take 1 whole, and we're going to divide that 1 whole into eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what we'll have is we will have 1 converted into 8/8. So we've borrowed from that, that becomes 2, and then we rewrite our fraction with a common denominator of eighths. So now we can go on to step 5, bring down our denominator. Then we can subtract our numerators, subtract our whole numbers if needed. In this case, we don't. So all we have to do is bring down the 2. And then we look to simplify if needed. Well, 1/8 is in lowest terms, so we have the answer to our problem. 3 take away 7/8 equals 2 1/8. And that's the end of our problem.